Ooh, can I have some?
All right, and now we're going into our Tuta Loca es section where we call out motherfuckers who are doing the most. And today we are talking about Britney Spears, the Framing Britney Spears documentary, and more specifically, Britney Spears' battle with her father, Jamie Spears, who is the conservator of her estate. So, Lambie, you haven't watched Framing Britney Spears. Julissa has watched Framing Britney Spears, and I did a whole IG live anticipating and watching Framing Britney Spears. So just to put into context, New York Times came out with a documentary called Framing Britney Spears, which brought into focus Britney Spears' rise to fame, her tumultuous relationship with the media, and then, of course, the conservatorship that she's been under for the last 13 years. So since 2008, Britney Spears has been under a conservatorship by her father, where she is literally not able to make any personal decisions or financial decisions for herself. So if she wants to go out and buy Cheetos and a Starbucks Frappuccino, she has to ask permission from her father. Mind you, conservatorships are usually given to people who are like so in a state that they're like in a vegetative state that they cannot make these decisions for their finances or their person, right? So he's the conservatorship of her person and of her estate. But for the last 12 years, Britney Spears has had 3 albums, 3 worldwide tours. She's done TV, she's done live TV. So how is someone who is working so much not capable of making these life decisions or, these financial decisions? And so the documentary just did a really good job of putting into perspective everything that Britney Spears had gone through since she was a kid. And I think that with the rise of like consciousness on mental health, people are looking at it through a different lens. And it's very clear that if Britney Spears were like at her prime now, people would have treated her differently than they did in 2007. So I know for me personally, this is something that I've been following for years because you guys know that I'm obsessed with her career. And so me as a fan, I could see it and I could see the shift. I could see how her music was different, how the presence was different, and I've been following it for years because I'm part of like that, community of people who are tuned into specifically what's going on with her. But for the rest of the world, I know that it wasn't necessarily anything that people were thinking about at all. So I know that I'm happy that it's shown a light on it and that people are now conscious of it, and it's spawning all these apologies. Sarah Silverman has apologized on her podcast. Justin Timberlake apologized to her and Janet Jackson.
Can we talk on that one, Justin one? Can we talk about Justin real quick before we...
Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Because fuck you.
Yo.
There's several layers to that fuck you, not even just on behalf of women, and this is not to overshadow Britney Spears in any sort of way in this moment, but in a moment, even just last year and the year before that, or whatever the most recent Super Bowl performance he had a couple years ago, people were talking about you with Janet, and you didn't issue that apology then.
At all.
It wasn't until now it's about Britney and this other shit that now you feel like you have to apologize to both because, you realize you apologize to the first bitch, and if you only apologize to Britney, we was going to call you out for not apologizing to the Black woman too, who, by the way, is more iconic than you.
Who remained more iconic even after that shit.
You know, I don't have time for it. I don't have time for your apologies so that you make sure you don't lose your fans. Sorry.
First off,
go ahead.
The apology, first off, he didn't really say anything in the apology. He really didn't say anything if you read the apology. And then also putting the words Britney and Janet in the same sentence and saying that you want to apologize because this is a conversation that you want to be a part of is not an apology at all.
It really isn't.
It's not an apology at all. And people have been hounding you for years. Every single year when the Super Bowl comes around, people are hounding you with memes, with GIFs, with tags. Justin Timberlake needs to apologize to Janet. Justin Timberlake needs to apologize to Janet. Because her career, though we were part of the community that still did see her career after the Super Bowl, her career was never the same after the Super Bowl. And that's unfortunate because Janet Jackson is an icon. So now all of a sudden, because this is put into the spotlight, now you feel like, oh, let me put Janet's name in there too because I don't want nobody to say anything. Fuck out of here. And you just so conveniently happen to have a movie coming out?
I didn't even know that.
I didn't know that either. Yeah.
And I was wondering, I was like, he's gonna drop an album soon or something. That's where my brain went. He has a movie.
I have like two my personally I'm just kind of like I'm with you, Julia, so like just fuck you, because like it's like you know how to make yourself present, you know how to, and like it's like he left. I mean, I've always been a Janet Jackson girl because I feel like, I mean, like I said, I didn't grow up with consistent. I just had access to Janet's music. I also think, and this is like my process of coming out and stuff like that. In the community that I was growing up in, if like you were into Britney, like that was more of a signal of you being gay, and navigating around that. It
was all of our community. I
just wanted to make sure, like, I don't want to speak to particularly your experience, but for real, like, I'm sure you know, like, it's just like, that's more of a spotlight. Janet, she was like R&B, she was like cool. There was a little bit more.
And Britney was influenced by Janet. Like, Britney has always had that influence.
And so was Justin.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so was Justin.
And like, that's the thing. It's just like
for a while. To cut you off, I was like, because if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly, NSYNC spent some time opening for Janet Jackson on one of her tours.
I'm pretty sure. I know Backstreet Boys, like they did like the "That's the Way Love Goes" cover. Like Janet Jackson's out here touching people. Was in sync. Okay, so yeah, I definitely am on some like fuck Justin Timberlake shit. Because like I said, like you know how to make yourself present in the eye of the public. You know how to do those things. And like with Janet Jackson, like it was a fucking like pasty on a fucking nipple. Like fucking at the time.
5 seconds. For like 0.5 seconds.
Exactly. At the time, Madonna was doing way crazier shit than that. Like there's a lot of ways in which like Justin Timberlake allowed Janet Jackson to be thrown under the bus.
Absolutely.
And just chose not.
And it was
chose not to say anything.
It was her performance, but the incident happened on his song. I know. I'm over it.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm over him. But I'm also of the mind where it's just kind of like, I'm like, I wonder what it means, if at all. And I don't think it means much, but I just wonder what it means. And this is really for my mental sake and like me just like letting that sit where it needs to be. I wonder what his apology means for Janet and Britney going forward. I really want to know what that means to them, because I didn't listen to his apology. I'm not going to. He's always been pretty flaccid. But yes. I just wonder what it means for them to hear that, and I hope that they have the platform to call him out on it. I hope that they have I hope that they take the opportunity to press the pedal on him, to twist the nipple a little bit more, to make him a little bit more, to own up to more accountability, because it was such bullshit. And like he totally pulled the white man, just like, I'm going to sap up all the juice and all the flavor and stuff like that, and act like you didn't spend 2 or 3 days squeezing lemons, you know? Like I'm just over it. I'm over it.
And I'll only add that, like, the color of what gets added to that is brought out by that documentary, The Framing by because I, as a young kid, first of all, I had difficulty with like white, like really white, like artists because I never really got to see myself in them, and so I struggled. But the minute I knew they were Latina, then I would. So like I loved Christina Aguilera more than I loved Britney Spears because A, I thought she sang better, and then B, I was like, and she's Latina. And same with Shakira. It was like, oh, she don't look nothing like me, but I love her and I identify with her because she's Shakira. Like, you know what I mean? And so I had a distance with Britney, but I always knew Britney was good. You know what I mean? I was never like, ill. Her songs are dumb. Like, I liked her shit, but you didn't need to buy me a Britney Spears album. I was good. Like, but like seeing that and understanding that, like having this like girl attitude of like, who's the one you like and who don't you like, allowed for me to digest the media fucking torment that she was receiving as like, fuck her. Oh, well, she's Britney Spears. She's going to be fine. And like having these assumptions around her simply because she was a white woman. And I saw white women have certain assumptions that they got to live out in their lives. And so in my head, I was like, she'll be fine. She'll be fine. You know, she's not Aaliyah. She's not all like, I was more concerned with my women than with her. But watching this now, I'm like, wow, but what a slippery slope it is to disregard the actual harm that's happening just because of how you relate to the person. And I think that even because Skittlez has talked me through the conservatorship at many points, but having to watch it framed in that way was super important. And it made me feel accountable to how we even talk about celebrities now. And not just like, oh, when they're having a mental health breakdown, but actually you see what made her have a mental health breakdown. You see the buildup, and we participated in it. We did it. And I think it's you know, it's the time is ripe for consumers to start recognizing their power a little more. Because paparazzi would not be selling Britney Spears photos and moments for nearly as much money if we were more responsible around how we wanted to consume things. And say, no, if Britney is not in a happy, joyous moment where you respectfully are taking pictures, I'm not interested in that. I'm not buying the magazines that do that, right? Because then they have to switch their game up. And I don't think we realize that. And we let them dictate it to the point where they literally drove her mad. It was the media and us.
And they made money off it. They commodified.
Are making money.
And they are making money.
It's interesting to listen to the court case. Even the lawyer now putting up this appeal of like, oh, well, you know, like Britney's making X amount of money, like, or their state is estimated to make X amount of dollar now, so I should be getting paid more, like type shit. And it's just like everybody's feeding off of this shit, but nobody wants to free this woman.
How old was Britney when she started out?
Her parents they're from like some town in Louisiana, Kentwood, Louisiana. Like, so they started her off at like 6 years old. They tried to pass her off as 9 for the first audition for Mickey Mouse Club. When that didn't go through, they moved to New York, where she got an agent and started going to PPAS elementary school to, you know, have her music lessons and shit like that. And they were like, she was in an off-Broadway show by the time she was 6 years old, you know? So, like, she's been doing this, you know? And I feel like one thing for me that I've always, like, talked about is one of the reasons why I've, like, always gone so hard for her is because I kind of identified with this idea of she would always put on these shows. She was always, like, she was always on point, and yet people would tear her down and scrutinize every little thing that she did. And I felt like I connected with that in my own community, where I was always trying to be, you know, good, but because I was labeled the faggot, I was always put down, you know, and I was always shat on. And so that is something that I've always resonated with her. So to see people kind of like really be able to see how she's been scrutinized every step of the way, and then really watch like what brought her to the meltdown and how it played out, and then even watch her be like a prisoner to her father has been like, oh my God, people are finally understanding.
It's validation. It's a validation that has gone I think you're right about Britney and the way people digest Britney. I think the minute they got to label her as crazy, her shaving her head became like the center of everything, and it took away from all of the work that she actually just she's actually talented. And then it's funny watching the little clips of her younger and singing, because sometimes I'm like, oh, well, she's not really a singer, and maybe not the kind of music she's doing now, but she was a singer. She was a singer, and she was not a bad singer. She just became a pop star, which is just a very different brand and palette of, it's like, even like when we talk about Azealia sometimes, like she's a rapper, she has this thing, but like when you hear, you know, Used to Being Alone and hear her pop the vocals, it's like, no, that's like, that's Azealia Banks also.
And we had a moment with that where when we were with Azealia and we started playing Anna Wintour, and we were like, oh my God, this is a bop, and she herself was on some like, oh my God, I hate this song, the record label made me put this out. You know what I mean? Like,
oh wow,
you know, the industry has control over what you get to put out and you know what your sound is and all that stuff. So I don't know. I don't know. Like I think my point
it makes me
that,
really.
I think my point in saying that was that like the industry would, whatever talent she did have was manipulated into being what it is now. And so now, yeah, you know, she doesn't really have that much of a voice, but think of what years of singing like that does, because you have to sound like this, you know, as opposed to if she was actually being able to train and like wasn't put into,
if she was actually being nurtured.
Yes.
If she was actually being nurtured. And that's the thing. Like, I mean, this, like I tried not to get to, because like I feel like I am getting into like assumptions, because I don't know. I only know Britney as the Avatar. But they're like, it's so predatory. This machine of like, you know, finding the biggest talent and you know, molding her into a money-making machine, because that's all that, like, I mean, like this conservatory, what's the word? Conservatorship, yeah, the conservatorship. Like, I feel like that it, everything about what I'm hearing about Britney's upbringing as a pop artist seems like this was always the destination for her to just be this money bank for these people who like just saw her as this from the beginning. I wonder if she was being nurtured, if in her upbringing would the head shaving thing have been more protected. You know, like I think about that with Kanye, I think about that with Michael Jackson. Like, who are these people's people?
Whitney. Whitney. They did it to Whitney too. That's what I'm saying. Whitney.
Uh-oh. Wait, what did you say?
The glitch. He glitched is what it was.
Okay.
You had a glitch moment. He said Whitney Houston.
Yes.
But can we just, sorry, just for the editing purposes, can you say it again? Skittlez, say Whitney, and then you can continue your thought. Sorry.
Okay. I was like, I said Whitney like 4 times. You can't hear me? No, Whitney. They did it.
Yes. Exactly, in the ways, I mean, like, and like how she had to fight against that in the only way that she knew how to fight against it, but the ways in which like the predatory system of the entertainment business and the gender racism that goes on in America and stuff like that, they were able to flip that into another money-making thing. Oh, she's being ghetto. Oh, she's, you know, like she's being all hostile, stuff like that. No, you guys are coming for her. You guys are all up in her business. You guys keep on asking her about questions that isn't really pertaining to what's present and what she's trying to do and how she's trying to move. I mean, I think about Tina Turner, like late into her career, even now, I think in the last couple of years, people are still asking her about Ike. And it's just like, guys, like, she's living a whole life in, I think it's Sweden now, or Switzerland, I forgot where she is, but she's living this whole life, and this is the only thing that you're interested in because it's the thing that gets people to click. It's the thing that gets people to pay attention. It's the only aspect that you care about. Whatever is going to get people to look in your direction. And it's just really fucked up. It's really, really fucked up. And that's another reason why I'm just thinking a lot about, like, how are they responding to it? How are they responding to Justin's thing? Because it's not about us. This person really left them high and dry, and they have to cope with that. They've been doing work to cope with that. So can these women actually do the work to be centered and like I said, twist the nipple to make this guy really see the bullshit that he has engaged in?
100%, 100%. Well, I just hope they free Britney. I'm definitely engaged.
Yeah. Well, there was an update on Thursday. There was a trial, and the judge granted the Bessemer Trust Bank to have 50% like control over the conservatorship. So now, even though Jamie objected to that, he did not want to give up power. So now he only has 50% control.
That's so gross. That's so gross.
Yeah. It's really, I can't wait for you to watch it. And like I said, it's not like 2 hours long or anything like that. It's short, and I think
I can't wait.
Worth the fucking watch. So yeah.
I can't wait. I need something to do.